In studio right now, Brett Truett, and Brett is an entrepreneur, founder, president, and CEO of Softnose. You're an inventor, and you took those Now you're an advocate, community advocate here, and you'll know Lynne Mishalanie from Utica Monday Night, who is all about building and investing in downtown and really. Using what's already there, right? And that's your philosophy. So
I'm not opposed to new buildings at all.
Okay,
as long as they are, the
courthouse, by the way, was a good example. I thought the courthouse is a nice look to downtown.
Away.
That would go away, right? All right, go ahead.
We don't know.
Right.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things.
I think the police station. I think the courthouse stays. I think the police station goes though.
Right.
And I've talked to those saying that police station is in really rough shape.
Yeah.
All right, Brett Truett. So you were about to go into Anthony Brindisi.
I was just going to mention that he has attended some meetings that we were present at, and he has told us that the hospital downtown is not in stone. So it's not a done deal. There are still a lot of questions, and if we are told that the hospital now wants to talk, I think a lot of they're going to say is, well, we're not sure yet. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
We haven't hired architects yet, and so it's really just a concept. And we have issues with the concept.
What's the plan for those buildings that are falling to pieces along Columbia Street, or is it Lafayette?
One building does lack a roof, and the bricks and stuff are starting to crumble, but that's only one building. So there is issue with one building. And then the buildings next to that, there's probably some internal problems, but I've purchased a building, and numerous people have bought buildings. Lynn's bought buildings.
Yeah.
The building that everyone loves to go to right now is Utica Bread. Lynne Mishalanie purchased that building and kept it alive.
Right.
Taylor and the Cook. Lynne Mishalanie was down there when nobody was down there.
That's awesome, though. And
How long ago?
About 20 years.
Yeah, but that's in your building. I mean,
I bought an old building and I went through.
You did find a tenant for about 6 months that was in there, which showed activity. But at the end of the day, that Bag Square area has come back, and it's beautiful over there.
Right.
And
It's come back, but I mean, let's be realistic. Nobody's walking around. You're not going to run into a lot of pedestrian traffic down there, and that's what the issue is with this.
Right.
From the whole success of our city depends on people living in it.
Right.
And a hospital is, in my view, of this magnitude is not going to make people happy, first of all, for the construction of it between these high-end housing units. And there's a possibility of another kind of housing going. If I was 30 years old, I would try to raise some money to make row houses along there, a different style, family-oriented, that connected our downtown to one of the most exciting districts we have over on Varick.
When I asked the question how long ago, you seemed upset that I asked that question. Like, 20 years, though, when we talked about grants that would come in and the demolition, that it would take 10 or 15 years, is it realistic to kind of have someone buy a building for a cheap price, take the time that it is to invest, build it into something, and then you're talking how many years down the road?
That's what you call an entrepreneur's life. That's how Armory Square in Syracuse became what it became, in these old buildings that we all bought and put our businesses in and refurbished over the years that we lived there and that we spent there. And then, much to the credit of the developer, Robert Doucette, he did build an entire new building about the size of 3 blocks, a football field, actually, and it is entirely in the same textures and the same character as the neighborhood.
What I was going to say, though, is Bag Square, refurbishing the area in Bag Square, and you guys have all done a great job over there. And the businesses that are in there, my favorite is Peepers, but I'm kidding, I'm joking. That's been there a long time, but that's not it doesn't look bad from the street, even though we know what it is. Yeah. But there's been a transformation over there, a good, positive transformation. Yes. But you're talking about a much larger area. If it took 20 years to do what you've done in Bag Square, it could take 50 years to really transform that area.
Well, things are escalating, though.
They are.
There are 3 levels of development. There's idiots like me who go in with just a dream, and then you make something happen, and then you find a few other people who are not quite as nuts like Brett, and he buys a building, and then those of us that are successful and can stay the second term attract all of the young people that are now like Bite, like the people that like what's going on at the ConMed building and what'll go on at Taylor.
Franklin Square is another. It's really developed very very well, but I do wonder though. It would take a long time, and what's to say that that coming in and completing a project in 5 years or 4 or 5 years, similar to what they did with the arterial, this funding will come. I mean, I understand grants and all, but you have all of our political figures pushing for this money to come on this project. So I think with new jobs coming, you're a believer of nanotech. You have a new population coming in. And to transform downtown quickly as opposed to waiting for 30 or 40 years, I think has its benefits. Would you at least agree to that there are benefits to that?
I would disagree.
Me too.
But it's not taking a swipe. It's not saying, wow, Bill, your idea is terrible. The politician's idea is terrible.
Yeah.
I have spent 14 years fixing up a building, and everyone that walks through it says, oh, my God, I want one of these. I want to do this. And it's happening. People are doing it. If they build the hospital, it's not a threat. I have less interest, and I am ready to leave the area because there's other developments that are happening that don't fit with my view that Lynn told me about. When you go to a city, you like to walk down streets that have vibrancy, mixed juices. You dive into that place, then you find that place. They're going to bulldoze this and put a big hospital. If you go to St. Joe's in Syracuse, it's a nice, beautiful hospital. Walk 3 and 4 blocks deep on each side. It is low income, boarded up, vacant.
Syracuse is not a great example, though.
Well,
I mean,
it's
there are other examples that show there are other. And to be fair,
I'm saying
there are other examples out there where hospitals and the neighborhoods around hospitals are prosperous neighborhoods. Syracuse is probably worse off than Utica right now. I mean, Syracuse is a city that is not bouncing back.
No. And you must admit that take away the nano promise, Utica is not a city bouncing back. Other than the small things that are happening.
And you take away the Utica promise, and it will make for restaurants even in Bank Square and the businesses in Bank Square, the new things that have popped up. If that doesn't come to fruition, a new something will come along, and you need a larger population and bigger jobs. I mean, a higher payroll. And without that, even the things that we've done up to this point, I don't think can long term.
We have issues.
There are issues.
And I don't think
we're riding on this nano, and it had better come.
Right. And certainly if I or you bought 3 radio stations and you brought them together in one building,
I'd bankrupt them.
You're going to have
sure. Knowing my history, right?
But before you did that, you would have fewer people. You would have one receptionist.
Right.
You would have, and what's going to happen?
That's what happened to radio. I mean, radio it used to be right.
People.
There's been a drain in this business. Right. Automation
so if you put 3 hospitals
destroyed
together, which they're not, because Faxton's staying open. So that's the other thing. Right. You open up the paper, it says 1 hospital for all. That's not true. Faxton's not closing.
Yeah, but Faxton would be more of professional building.
And
it would be
cancer
kind of what it is, today.
And rehabilitation. Yeah. So when they say one integrated system, it's not quite that way because Faxton's staying open, and whether they build at St. Luke's or build downtown, they've got that. And plus, I think they own 40 other outpatient clinics. So that's where healthcare is going. It's spreading out.
Are you going to? Did you say you will move if the hospital comes downtown?
It's either that or run for mayor.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
I'm actually really conflicted. I'd like to invent stuff, and I'd like to walk interesting neighborhoods and sit and have coffee with people like I'm talking to now. But I think I met you first at MVCC, and you went on how great Utica was. Yeah. I heard that from you. After I heard it from Lynn, I got sucked in. I stuck around. Everyone I went to school with at SUNY said, I'm out of here. And they said, Brett, move to Rochester, move to Syracuse. I stuck around. I built a company. I bought a small building, and then I bought another building. I drank the Kool-Aid. I lived at the Hotel Utica when it was the Hunter House. That's how crazy I was.
Right.
And when they tell me they're bringing a big hospital downtown, It kind of squashes my dream.
Joe, and Lynn, we were all a part of that, really pushing Utica on the rebound, and it didn't happen at that time. I think that was the start, and I know that what you're going to say.
I think that's
we
my
expected
hope.
something fast, and it didn't happen.
And no, this is not Dubai.
Right.
There is not that kind of money. There is not that. Really, it's not. But the reality is that Utica is authentic, and it is not that much different than it was when our grandparents came.
Right.
In that the new people coming in are like our grandparents. They are buying into the American dream. You've got more young people. Again, evidenced by what's going on down in Franklin, on Franklin Ave.
Mm-hmm.
All the new little shops that are coming up. Bank Place is hot and delightful.
Yeah.
And I guess it saddens me. And another part, there isn't enough public dialogue. I mean, this is our tax money. The added money is going to be our taxes again. And if we're going to be paying for it already, the
added money, though, in fairness on that, the added money is our taxes, but collectively throughout New York State. Which, if this money doesn't go here, I hate to use this argument, people hate it, but it's true, it's going to go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And we're going to pay for it anyway.
Or nowhere at all, according to the recent news about the shortfalls.
But we'll pay. Oh, that's a good point. All right, I got a break. Let me break and come back. Rob is on the phone. I know Jeff has questions, and we're speaking with Lynne Mishalanie, along with Brett Truett on No Hospital Downtown. And this is dialogue that is...
No, this is great.
Despite our disagreement, it's healthy, I think. Yeah. It's healthy. We'll come right back.